This is a Voyescape podcast. You can find all of our travel podcasts from around the world at voyescape.com.
Lisbon may not be the city you think about on your first, your second, or even your third visit to Europe, but it is a wonderful place. A city set on the water with a winding labyrinth of cobblestone lanes. Portugal's capital is a place that you could explore for weeks and weeks and weeks. David, let's talk about Lisbon.
Absolutely. It's a great spot, and I'm looking forward to getting into it this week. It's somewhere I have not been as recently as I would have liked. It's been a while since I was last in Lisbon, but I am planning a trip there later this year, and I know you've been there a lot more recently, so I'm looking forward to hearing some of your insights. But the thing that struck me about Lisbon on our first trip there is, for one, it's a very affordable city. I found of all the European capitals, at least when we were there, Portugal definitely is a bit more on the affordable end of the scale than a lot of other regions throughout Europe. But at the same time, super rich in culture, in history, great food. Yeah, I was really impressed with it, and I'm looking forward to going back.
Absolutely. And Portugal in general, and Lisbon specifically, for whatever reason, those have been destinations that I visited a lot lately. So whether at the end of a cruise or just on a special family trip a couple years ago or whatever, it just feels like, we were talking about Rome earlier. It feels like all roads have led to Portugal for me lately. And Lisbon really is, like, you think about Rome, where do you go? Okay, Colosseum, Trevi Fountain, Spanish Steps, Vatican. Think about Paris, Eiffel Tower, the Seine, there's so many sites that you would go and see first thing in Paris, London, Big Ben, etc. Where do you go, real quick, where do you go in Lisbon? And it's just not that kind of city where it wows you with its immediate tourist appeal. And I think that may be the reason that I love it so much, because it's a city where you discover slowly. It's a city that reveals itself to people who want to just wander, where you go, oh, okay, I'm going to turn this corner, and then you find something that you absolutely love. And and it is a livable city. As you said, it's much more affordable than many other European capitals still, even though Portuguese tourism is going through the roof the last few years. It is definitely a little bit more affordable. So yeah, let's talk Lisbon. What do you want to dive into first?
Well, maybe let's start off with some of the, as you say, there's not maybe those bucket list sites, but there are still some really iconic sites that I would recommend visiting, and some great neighborhoods. And I'll maybe kick us off with a couple. One of the places that we really loved and probably started off our tour of the city was Castelo de São Jorge, but it is the iconic kind of hilltop castle overlooking Lisbon. Great panoramic views of the city, cannons, up overlooking the city, and also, at least when we were there, and I think this is not uncommon, some great musicians who are up there playing as well. Fado music is something I'm sure will come up a lot in our discussion, because it is really a key part of the soul of the city. This sort of deeply melancholic traditional Portuguese music that's really sung with emotion, and you'll quite often find Fado players they're up in the castle. So I thought that was a great way to sort of kick off a tour of the city. And then the two other ones that I would call out were the former Expo site where Expo 98 was, where this is definitely much more the modern architecture, some beautiful boardwalks, family attractions, great bike paths and stuff. Much more modern part of the city, and also probably one of the best oceanariums, aquariums in Europe there. So that was another great place to visit. But then the one that we probably spent the most time at, and I imagine you've probably spent a good chunk of time here as well, Tim, a district called Barrio Alto, which was kind of the bohemian nightlife districts, a lot of tiny bars, rooftop venues, music spilling out onto the street. It was a place that we spent just days just wandering around, from boutique to restaurants to all there was to see and do there, and definitely one of my favorite parts of the city.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have thoughts on Fado. I don't know if now is a good time to talk about them, but Fado is very interesting. I'm a big fan of local song, and I'm a big fan of local expressions of culture. Fado, I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to insult any of our Portuguese listeners. Just not my favorite. I didn't feel good coming out of the Fado performance. It's a lot of like, it's a lot of mournful tones. If you're in the right mood, maybe it's the right thing. But Fado, definitely. I mean, you're absolutely correct that Fado is the Portuguese, really national expression of song. But yeah, it was. I do have thoughts on Fado, and it is not my favorite. But Barrio Alto, yes, everyone should go. That typical old town, cobblestone streets, great little squares that you can just stumble upon. Again, record stores and bookshops and all those things that you would hope to find, vintage stores. And in Barrio Alto, you've also got the elevator to Santa. I'm going to say Justa, but it could be Justa. I think it's Justa, which is this maybe the most iconic. We were talking about icons in other cities. One of the most iconic sites in Lisbon, and it is this neo-Gothic elevator, because you have the lower part of the old town, the upper part of the old town, and they needed a way to get there, and they built it in 1902. This huge elevator, and it's a great for a photo. They light it up at night, and it's also really convenient because if I don't like walking up hills very much, and so it's nice to just get on the elevator and go up. So that's also in Barrio Alto, and worth a stop. One other thing that's not too far away that I love to do is to go further down towards the river and get on the number 15 tram, which is a great way to just go across along the river. This is this sort of like very wide river that almost looks like it's part of the sea. And I think it is, in fact, sort of brackish water, that kind of thing. Very, very close to the sea. And you go along this tram and you can get these wonderful views of Christ the King, which is their version of Christ the Redeemer, the famous statue in Rio de Janeiro. They have one of those in Lisbon, and also just all the cool stuff along the waterfront. And that will take you, excuse me, to the Belém Tower. And the Belém Tower dates back to the Portuguese Renaissance in the 16th century. This was once the ceremonial gateway to the city. And in addition to the history, it's also a place where people just love to come together, and you'll find like street food. You'll find a guy playing the guitar. Great sunny place surrounded by green space. And that's another place, again, right on the water. So if it's hot, if it's been a busy day, nice place to go sit down, maybe grab a little bit of street food, listen to the busker, and just chill out in this cool historic place.
Well, you mentioned Belém, and my can't miss is going to relate to that. So we'll circle back to that as we continue on here. But we've talked a little bit about some of the main things to see in the city, and we're coming up on the 10-minute mark. So why don't we come back with a little bit more on kind of the where to stay, the where to eat, a little bit of the practicalities of the city, and both of our can't misses as well.
Sounds good. And I've got 2 can't misses, so stay tuned. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tim.
Hey, David.
Luxury flights and hotels can be had for free. The world of points and miles sounds too good to be true, but it's actually real, but only if you know what you're doing.
On Frequent Miler on the Air, Greg and I I'm Nick. Discuss all the ways to earn points and miles and use them for outsized value.
Join us every Friday for our full episodes and every Tuesday for our quick, single topic coffee break episodes.
See you there.